I'm Rainey, and I'm presenting our paper on exploring the role of Paradata in digitally supported qualitative co-research. Research projects are increasingly adopting approaches that actively involve participants from outside the research community in a process of shared learning, i.e. co-research. Often workshops, town halls, and interviews are the research methods used so that the data captured is primarily qualitative. As such, co-researchers are increasingly engaging in the capture, analysis, and dissemination of such qualitative data. Digital tools are increasingly being used in such collaborations to support participation in all the research stages. Recent work calls for making decisions made on contributed data more transparent, so the co-researchers or those involved in contributing their data can better understand the decisions that's made on it. Paradata describes how people access, use, or engage with digital technology, processes, or data. Digital technology used in qualitative research can already capture paradata, such as the time each researcher spends listening to an interview. Yet in practice, paradata is rarely used to examine or make visible the decisions associated with undertaking qualitative research. As such, our research objectives in this paper was to explore and examine the role and characteristics of paradata that could inform interface design for future technologies in the space of qualitative research. To explore the possible roles of paradata, we selected a research context where an existing digital platform was used across the research process. My colleague at OpenLab, Siobhan, led a co-research project with members of a local charity who wanted to capture, analyse and share the lived experiences of their members across their organisation to foster shared learning between members. As part of an initial meeting, a range of open source participatory platforms were demoed as potential tools that the co-researchers could use. It was important for them that other members could lead and contribute throughout the research process. Ultimately, they chose the GABBER platform, which is an open source digital platform designed to support participation in all stages of qualitative research. GABBER achieves this through two technologies: a mobile-friendly website for all stages besides data capture, and a cross-platform mobile application that supports data capture. Through GABBER, users can record and annotate an audio interview in situ using interview topics they've previously created. Recordings are then uploaded to a website where the audio interview is represented alongside the annotated areas of the interview, and users can write textual comments and apply codes in response to segments of the audio interview. Finally, a separate interface exists on the website that enables users to view all snippets of coded audio data, filter them based on topics or codes, and curate those snippets into individual audio playlists that represent a narrative that draws from voices across the dataset. Our research involved two phases. First, a field deployment of GABBER, where co-researchers met weekly in a workshop hosted by the charity to undertake each research stage, so they captured data, analysed it, and curated it. The configuration and use of GABBER was led by the co-researchers, so my role was primarily as a participant observer throughout these workshops. However, following the deployment, all participants were interviewed to reflect on the decisions that they made during the co-research project, and by extension the types of paradata that were meaningful to them. Participation varied across research stages, with a core group of co-researchers contributing to all stages. GABBER was used in each bi-weekly workshop, resulting in 8 interviews being captured and analysed, and also curated. We present 2 observations of these co-research practices. During the data analysis workshop, participants split into pairs to review, analyse, and code captured data. This surfaced decisions made offline between the pair, such as which interviews to listen to, how they plan to code the data, and raised challenges with how such paradata might be documented outside of digital technology. GABBER also enables participants to create comments on regions of audio during the analysis stage. Participants had a preference to using codes rather than writing textual responses, primarily because they desired to annotate as much interesting data as possible so that they could ensure that the curation stage was more useful to their other co-researchers. Reflecting on the role in the project, P6 suggested that paradata could help researchers be more conscious of the decisions that they make in research projects, particularly if they know the paradata could be made visible to others. In the co-research project, participants always had the final decision and how their data would be used or reused, but participants interviewed acknowledged that this is not always the case when contributing to other research projects, with P3 suggesting that Paradata could be used to assist in a new way of member checking, where participants could request clarification, confirmation, or even contest and veto how their views are understood and represented within research. Similar to prior research, participants also desired to know how their experiences were engaged with beyond the research project, with one participant wanting to know how and where in the research process an interview they contributed helped. These findings are practical for designing Paradata-driven interfaces for qualitative research and have implications for the broader HCI community in two ways. Firstly, sharing qualitative data remains a key tension point within the qualitative research community due to the ethical and consent constraints associated with sharing human experiences. Designing interfaces that aggregate Paradata could be one way to reveal aspects of the research process to others. For example, if a researcher conducted an interview study, a summary report could include who in the research team engaged in the data collection and the analysis stages, the listening order of interviews, or the proportion of transcripts that they didn't engage with. Secondly, the use of technology across the qualitative research process provided opportunities for participants to reflect on the potential utility of Paradata. For participants interviewed, Paradata was imagined as a tangible asset that would satisfy their curiosity through showing how their contributions impacted research. As such, designing ways to share Paradata with research participants could also help to close the sort of feedback loop following the end of a research study. Our paper provides further discussion on the need to contextualize Paradata to make it meaningful beyond personal use, to support reflexive qualitative practices, and to use Paradata as a design material within research. Thanks for listening, and to learn more about the role of Paradata in qualitative research, please check out our paper.